Hello and welcome back to Integrity Podcast. I'm your host Madina, and today is our guest Madina Abdrakhmanova. She is an expert in AI and data analysis. And today together we will talk about the latest trends and developments in artificial intelligence and how it's affecting academic integrity, education, and other different areas. So before we begin, Madina, could you please share your background? And what drew you to the world of AI and data analysis?
Okay, so my background is actually computer science. I liked math, I liked programming, I like to build software, like small projects with the programming software. So that's why I picked the field for my bachelor's. And then when I graduated and I joined Nazarbayev University for the first time, I was involved just with teaching computer science courses. And in the third year of my work, I started delving more into machine learning projects. And I was fortunate to visit an AI conference in the New York, the United States. And after that, I realized that this is where I want to grow, and this is where I want to gain more knowledge. So I got my master's also in computer science focused in AI. And since that, I moved back to NU. I joined the Institute of Smart Systems and Artificial Intelligence and started working on AI related projects. And AI revolves around data. So a lot of work I do is actually not a training fancy AI models, but actually cleaning, curating high quality data such that the output of my AI models would be the best.
So impressive. We're truly fortunate to have you with us today, and I'm sure that today's episode will be beneficial for our listeners. So, in our time, artificial intelligence plays a crucial role in various spheres of our lives, from education and healthcare to business and science. So this rapidly developing technological tool transforms our reality, creates unique opportunities for all the human being, and raising questions about honesty, morality, ethics. So what are the most in demand artificial intelligence skills in 2024, and why you think they are so important?
Okay, so I think for the users of AI technology, the most important skill is critical thinking because so much of the content is now generated by generative AI, and some of the content might be misleading, intentionally, unintentionally, by the creators. Still, you have to be very cautious about the information now that you can read over the internet. So please be critical. Also, be critical about the technology itself because it's a tool, a very influential and powerful. So, in some cases, it might be used not for good. I personally stand for the usage for good, but certain people just focus on the money aspect. So, be critical of the output, be critical of the usage, and be cautious about how it affects our world, society, and environment overall. But if we talk about the developers of artificial intelligence, if you want to become one, you should invest not only in your programming skills with Python and PyTorch frameworks specifically written for developing AI models, but also into strong understanding of math, linear algebra, because all of this uh, complicated math are in the basis of artificial intelligence models. There is such a variety. All of them have different theoretical understanding and just basis. So with good combination of strong math and programming skills, you can be one of the strongest AI developers.
Thanks a lot. So the role of AI in ensuring academic integrity becomes increasingly significant. So the students often turn to artificial intelligence in order to help them to facilitate their learning process. In this regard, artificial intelligence creates some adverse consequences in education at all. However, if students will understand how to use it correctly. I think it will be even beneficial for education system. So hence arises the question, in what ways can AI support academic institutions in fostering a culture of honesty, integrity, and responsible research practices among students and faculty?
Okay, so I think the most common usage is the usage of generative AI models like ChatGPT to write essays and reports and everything like that. And if you're very reckless with the prompts, you'll get some generic text that will not represent your voice. And usually, the person who is very familiar with you, who has read your previous writing reports and essays, or just used to interacting with you like in a classroom, he or she would understand, see once they get your text, whether it was written by you or by the ChatGPT. So I know it's very tempting. It saves so much time, and ChatGPT has literally lots of interesting ideas. But I would advise people to still listen to yourself, to your inner voice. And if you still want to use it, just be very specific with the text prompts, such that maybe it gives you some nice narrative, but the story you're trying to say is genuine yours. So we also use it commonly here at SI as a tool to develop code because it simplifies the process a lot. For example, previously we would spend a lot of time with Stack Overflow and other websites to debug our code, to write certain codes. But now with such products as Google Copilot, which is basically a ChatGPT tuned specifically for writing programming code, it makes our life easier. So we usually just advise our students to take advantage of Google Copilot because it's for free. It's actually GitHub Copilot. It's free for students, and it helps us to develop and build up our models and testing codes much faster. We also noticed that in certain cases, it's actually a pretty good tutor already. It can understand, I can explain certain issues with the code. It can advise on how you should attempt to solve certain problem. But at the same time, we found that in some cases, it can be misleading. It doesn't give you the right answer because there's so many, for example, releases of different pieces of codes. So again, none of the AI models is bulletproof or spoof-proof. Sometimes it hallucinates, sometimes it can be wrong. So we should never fully rely on them because there could be always an outlier that could push the model to give some unexpected result.
Thanks. So, what do you think is important for students to know how to use AI tools in ethical ways? Like, what every student should know, and it's important for him to use it ethical, and there is no harmful, like it will not be harmful for himself or itself.
I think I like the idea that now in Kazakhstan, every student should take a course in artificial intelligence. I hope that there will be a very big module focused on the bias of the artificial intelligence. Basically, certain errors come up in the output because of certain biases inside of the training process. It could be in the architecture, but most likely it's in the training data. So if we think more broadly, what training data was used to build a particular AI instrument, this could help us to understand where it could behave poorly, especially if it's something very novel. Sometimes we just we have a wishful thinking and we hope the instrument works the way we want it to work, but it has certain limitations. And the limitations usually come from the training experience, from the data, from the model. So definitely understanding the fundamental concepts of building AI models, machine learning in particular, and deep learning, would help people to understand I would say, capabilities and limitations of any model.
Thanks. So, as a expert in AI, how do you see the future in the field of AI, like its challenges and opportunities in the future?
Okay, so first of all, I would advise all of our listeners to Google Stanford AI Index Report. If you want to learn more about the trends, what happened basically the year previous one, and what would happen in the next years, Stanford has already provided us a really nice report. It's around like 50, 60 pages, but it's full of different graphs. And with these infographics, you can understand what's been happening in the AI world. But in terms of what I believe where we're going towards, I think we're definitely trying to reach artificial general intelligence. Basically, an AI model that can train and can take as an input any type of data, whether it's an audio recording or it's an image or it's text or any other form of data, and solve a variety of tasks. For example, like 5 years ago, we would have models tuned specifically for a single task. For example, classifying dogs and cats, very simple example. But now, or for example, recognizing a person. We have these models on our phones, at the entrances of many business buildings and housing complexes. But now imagine if the model could also understand what is your temperature, what is your emotion stage, what is your age, what is your gender, and all other kinds of things related to the information that is provided about the person, and make certain conclusions of it. So this is basically a more generalistic model. And this is where we're going, thanks to the architecture transformers, with which we build large language models and language vision models. Now we are able to input all kinds of data and solve multiple tasks at the same time. So this is basically where we go. Oh,
No.
and also I almost forgot. I think recently OpenAI released Sora model. That's also, I would say, an example of the specifically powerful generative AI. Last year, we saw Midjourney and other models that could generate really amazing images that could fool even artists and say, I think in 2021, there was one competition where the best people thought that this picture was created by a real artist, but actually it was created by a model. So, but now we're getting a generation of the video, and then soon we'll be able to combine video with audio, so we'll have a complete clips, and it could be utilized for creating cartoons, for creating media clips, and so on and so forth. So yes, two big trends: these multimodal generic AI models, and at the same time, very powerful generative models that can create all kinds of content.
It's like, to be honest, it's mind-blowing thing that AI can like replace a human. So it's really mind-blowing. So changed the topic. Last year on the project, we actively developed the topic of ecological integrity and how it's important to adhere the integrity principles in order to maintain ecology. So as we know, you are a co-founder of the Climate Action Initiative Central Asia. And I will be interested to know, how do you see the future of using artificial intelligence to address environmental issues such as climate change?
So yes, all of these amazing trends with artificial intelligence and capabilities, they all have a cost. It cannot happen without huge data centers that house lots of GPU nodes. And all of that equipment requires water to cool it and electricity to power it up. So it requires a lot of natural resources to provide these goods. And I think there's now statistics that if we look at the data centers around the world, the amount of resources they require, for example, in electricity, it amounts the same as entire countries with millions of, tens of millions and hundreds of millions of people. And here we have these data centers that just house like millions of or thousands of GPUs. So it comes at a cost, and we have to be aware of it. we have to be aware that every time we send a prompt to ChatGPT, it literally burns the GPUs. So we need to provide certain ways either to offset the environmental impact or be just very cautious and responsible in our usage. I think we should do both. So in Climate Action Initiative in Central Asia, we stand for the responsible usage of artificial intelligence for climate tech, so that whenever we want to tackle AI to solve any issues in climate or understand better or make certain prognosis based on economic situation in our country or any other country, we have to be always cautious of how much compute we use, such that our models and systems are quite optimized. And at the same time, I'm also a chief AI officer at the Forest Hero startup, where we're trying to find a solution for the offsetting. We use AI to predict which places would be most beneficial for planting large forests and which species would be the best for this land. And but in the end, you get, hopefully with this solution, we'll get lots of forests that could be producing carbon credits that could offset damage that is provided by the big data centers across the world.
It's so nice to know that, like in our country, in Kazakhstan, people become more and more conscious about ecology, and it's so cool that technology can like help us to maintain ecology nowadays. So thanks. So the last question, what advice would you give to students, to our listeners?
Okay, so one piece of advice is that if you can solve a problem with a Google search, please use Google search, because Google has spent a lot of time and effort to optimize that technology. It's actually 50 times better to use Google search than OpenAI, ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is right now basically looking for data. I think Sam Altman is not he's quite open that they are running out of training data and they're looking for additional sources. And this is partially the reason why they released ChatGPT for free. I mean, yes, there is a model that we need to pay for, but the one that is free to use for everyone is actually quite good. And I think that's what everybody uses. So when you provide the prompts, you also provide your data. Sometimes people understand that they need to be very specific about the prompts and provide sometimes like personal information or something specific to you, such that the model can provide the content for that. And by accepting the output, you provide the feedback on how well the model does. So you're becoming a provider of the data, you're becoming an annotator of the data for free. And we're talking about millions of people around the world doing that. So it helps to build a better product, but it comes at the expense of the computational resources. They have so much money and the evaluation is very strong, and they have so many grants from Microsoft for computational resources, such that they really don't care how much they burn GPUs, how much water they use, how much they use electricity, or any other natural resource, because they are just looking for the next gold or crude oil, which is data. So please keep that in mind, that whenever you use ChatGPT, similar as with other free technologies coming from the big tech like Instagram or Gmail, you are providing your data for the companies to mine. So please keep that in mind.
Thank you. Thank you, Madina, so much for sharing your expertise today with us. It's been fascinating discussion. To sum up, to all our listeners, thank you for tuning in AI Insights with us today. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more episodes. And until next time.
Thank you, Madina.